Hello, everyone. Happy June 7th, and welcome to the Humanities Team at Evolution Revolution book group discussion. And we are reading the Storm Before the Calm. And it's written by Neale Donald Walsch, and welcome, everybody. And I will turn it over to Linda, who can tell us where we are. I am one of those people that doesn't have a book, not with me, but I'm going to look at the printout that you sent me. I didn't print it out, but the PDF, and we'll take it from there. So, Linda, take it away.
Okay, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. So we're reading The Storm Before the Calm, Conversations with Humanity, Book 1. We're on conversation number 4, and that starts on page 17. The first belief we have to change. As we move into a new era, the first thing we have to do is take responsibility for our past. Now don't run from that. This is not about taking blame. It's about taking control. I'm not talking about beating ourselves up for what's gone wrong or what's gone before. What I am talking about is moving into gentle, quiet knowing, a soft and compassionate holding of a simple truth. We are not the victims here. What's happening in our lives and all over our planet right now is good, but that goodness will be wasted if we do not see what is so. If we insist on imagining that we are somehow the victims of what is occurring, if we declare with fist-pounding certainty that things are happening to us, not through us. And so, the first belief we're going to have to change is the belief in our own bystanderness. That manufactured word captures perfectly the thought held by many that we are helpless, hapless, hopeless, forced to suffer silently and shiver fearfully in the face of what's going on and what appears to be coming. This is a false thought, an inaccurate thought, a misleading thought. More important, it's a dysfunctional thought. It causes us, quite literally, to dysfunction. So let's get rid of this thought. Having turned the page, now let's turn our attention to an important awareness. Let this fourth conversation that we are having here then be about cause. Acknowledging our role in the scheme of things. All of us can easily see, simply by looking around us, just how bad things have gotten on this planet. But now, a question. Why isn't anybody asking why? I just have to throw in an aside here that this is just freakingly perfect for today. This is not one of 7 simple questions that I mentioned earlier. This is a question that stands by itself alone. It precedes the 7 simple questions and creates a context for them. Not enough people are asking this preceding question, much less answering it. I'm going to do both. It's part of that first belief we have to change. I'm going to stop being a bystander. In a little booklet I wrote in spring of 2011, I said something that I believe is worth sharing again here. Events on Earth are not created by unseen forces. We are not here subject to the whims of the gods, or, as Shakespeare put it, suffering the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Even in the case of geophysical events, we are not entirely at the mercy of the elements. It may seem as though we are, but we are not. Take earthquakes, for example. They are real, they are occurring, and they are something that we are at some level creating. Take hurricanes and tornadoes and typhoons. and tidal waves and tsunamis. They are all occurring, and they are all something that we are at some level creating. Take global warming, for instance. It is real, it is occurring, and it is something that we are at some level creating. Or, for that matter, take the incredible and rapid spread of bacterial diseases sweeping across the earth. This too is something that we are at some level creating. Of course, we don't have any intention of admitting any of this, at least not the members of humanity's establishment. In a horrifying example of non-leadership, the US House of Representatives voted 240 to 184 in the spring of 2011 to defeat a resolution that simply said that climate change is occurring, is caused largely by human activities, and poses significant risks for human health and welfare. Imagine that. Now, are we the people creating these events consciously? Of course not. Yet could we be creating these events unconsciously? Absolutely. Through our unconscious, that is to say, our unthinking or short-sighted behaviors. You're asking me to accept a lot here. No one that I know sits around deciding to produce an earthquake. And they couldn't do it if they wanted to. And there's no proof that global warming is caused largely by human activity. Would you agree to this? That human beings are more than passive observers in the rollout of life? Well, it depends on what you're talking about. If you're talking about tornadoes and stuff, well, let me ask you this. How many underground nuclear weapon tests do you think we can conduct before the massive explosion or earthquake? How much carbon can we emit before we open conditions, wind variations, violent enough to call them hurricanes and tornadoes? Farms into breeding grounds of drug-resistant bacteria. Farmers responded that restricting antibiotics in livestock to consumers. Human beings are more than passive observers in the rollout of life. Would someone tell me how it could do both? It significantly raised prices. Do you think meat buyers would pay a bit more to live a lot longer? How would the industry be devastated? The way the oil industry was devastated when gas prices shot up 30%? This lapse in logic notwithstanding, who do you suppose now? The good news. Of course, I'm fully aware that there are those people who roundedly poo-poo the notion that human activity has anything whatsoever to do with any of this. But I am here to declare, along with the overwhelming majority of the world's scientists, geophysicists, and medical researchers, that these activities are, in fact, intertwined, that we live in an interconnected world where one thing definitely and invariably leads to another, and that humanity is no more immune from causality than any other element of life itself. To put this simply, we are at least partners. must also be part of the solution. If we are not a part of the problem, then we have naught but to endure it. Yet if we are a part of the problem and can admit that we are, then we are not utterly at the mercy of unseen forces. With regard to human affairs, oh goodness, wait a second. Yet if we are a part of the problem and can admit it, that we are, then we are not utterly at the mercy of unseen forces. With regard to human affairs, as opposed to physical occurrences, this is obviously true. We are completely at cause in the matter of the geopolitical upheavals of humanity. Well, yes and no. That's true that political disasters are not caused by nature, but they are the result of human nature, and that is equally uncontrollable. Really? I mean, is this true? Are human beings just the way they are, with certain proclivities so built in that they're or survival in nature? Hasn't that pretty much been proven? Do you see human nature changing much? Well, I think this is something we're about to decide. The collective called humanity, I mean. We are about to decide and to announce our decision through our thoughts, words, and actions, what we consider to be true about us and our nature. We're also about to decide whether we are ready and willing to change what has been true about our nature due to the immaturity of our species in earlier years. It is this choice that will be tomorrow's declaration. It is this demonstration that will be our new manifesto. We are a part of the problem. We can also be part of the solution. It seems to me perfectly clear we can no longer move forward advancing our own evolutionary process as a species by demonstrating the behaviors of the past. It is, as the late Walt Kelly's comic strip character Pogo memorably pronounced, we have met the enemy, and he is us. Yet if most people continue to insist that what has got to change is unchangeable, that the basic nature of our species is simply what it is, and that there is no altering it, then we surely are doomed. There is nothing for us to do but cut and run, hoard and hide, surviving as best we can while the world falls apart around us. On the other hand, if we renounce the doctrine of impossibility, if we reject the notion of our impotence, if we abandon the thought that we have no control over our behavior because of our very nature, a new future opens up to us. A new tomorrow beckons. It can be the future of our preference, the tomorrow of our chosen reality. Victims or creators. The first step in the manifestation of this gender eventuality is the embracing of a gender truth about the role we are playing, a grander truth about the role we are playing and have played. We must decide, is life something that is happening to us or something that is happening through us? Even with regard to geophysical conditions and events on our planet, over which at first glance we might imagine we have no control, we must decide that we do have a collaborative role to play in how those occur and affect us. Is life something that is happening to us or something that is happening through us? The Japanese calamity of 2011 is a remarkable example. Even if we assert that we had no long-range role whatsoever in the earthquake and tsunami, a position that I personally am not prepared to take. There is not one of us who can deny that humanity definitely had a role in the nuclear disaster that followed, and can have a big role in avoiding those disasters in the future. There are those who understand this perfectly. On May 30th, 2011, Germany formally announced its plan to abandon nuclear energy completely within 11 years. 8 of the nation's 17 plants that had been temporarily shut down would remain closed permanently, the government said. The remaining 9 plants would be shut down by 2022. This is a striking example of the world waking up. We're beginning to understand and to acknowledge the role that we ourselves have played in creating the storm before the calm. We're beginning to take a stand, not just to understand, but take a stand. Points I hope you'll remember. We are not the victims here. We are at least part of the problem. We can no longer move forward with the behaviors of the past. We don't need to take blame. We need to take control. Action I hope you will take. Change any belief that you may have that you are a bystander in the way life is proceeding on Earth. Renounce the doctrine of impossibility. And that's the end of this chapter, conversation.
And welcome,
Hey,
Anne.
Derby, yay!
Yeah, we were worried about you.
Oh, we've been missing you.
Hi.
Glad you're here.
Thanks. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Welcome. Well, it's almost bizarre, I think, that this wasn't written for right now. I mean,
like yesterday.
yeah, like yesterday. I'm serious.
That whole
Yeah.
section where he went through, when he went through the sections, right? He went through the different. Let me go back to that. He was breaking down, you know, and referring to the specific like things that were happening. And he just didn't say racist and that. And if he'd thrown racism in here, it could have been written today.
Yep.
I find it very, sorry, Lynette, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I'll be quick. I get it, what he's saying, that we're all collectively responsible and we have to take the individual responsibility. But my despair is that I've got a roommate who really couldn't care less, not at all, about anything, not about racism, not about climate change, not about any of it. And I cannot say anything because people have free will.
Your roommate is not your responsibility, and we don't have to get 100%. We just have to get the tipping point, which is much smaller than that, you know?
Wait a minute, I couldn't hear you. Sorry, I missed it. Please, can you?
I'm sorry. I don't know why I used to be able, I need to get headphones. I was saying your roommate, can you hear me now? Your roommate is not your responsibility, and we don't have to get 100%. We just have to get the tipping point, which is much lower than that. I don't remember what the figure is that they say, but I don't think it's even half that they say is the tipping point, you know? We just have to get enough to change the momentum, you know?
Yeah, it's 3%.
Yeah. So your roommate doesn't matter, but living with them, I could see would be hard. And all you can do is be yourself and love. You know, we got to get so much better at loving the people we don't understand, I think. I suck at it personally.
Well, I think he doesn't understand. I understand everything. I'm quite perfect.
No, oh yeah, of course you do.
The problem is out there.
Of course.
Shabana,
Oh,
could I just say, sorry, Angela, sorry, I was going to say, I can liken your situation to mine in a little bit of a way, because living with my mother is not sort of fully in the present. It doesn't really, it's not that conducive to sort of discussing current affairs and things, but does he, if you was to talk about it, does he say he doesn't want to know? Because you could always say how you feel, just bounce off him in that respect. You could just say, I feel this, or I feel that, or I feel the other. Or does he just not want to hear it?
It's just a big shrug. Couldn't care less.
All right.
Like, you know, I mean, the reason I'm making the joke is the problems out there is that, you know, he just tells me, you're different.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Well, it could be worse. Could be worse.
Anyway, but it's, I agree with Mary that I'm not good at that, at loving unconditionally. I'm not.
Shabana, I think
You're
the
getting
next
better.
time,
Don't say you're not.
yeah, I think the next time you get the shrug shoulders, I would, in a kind way, just say, thank you. You've given me a lot of food for thought.
I've become obese with the food for thought. Like I'm 400 pounds.
Hey, I didn't know why nobody could hear me. I have something to suggest too. The way that I see it is sometimes people are a mirror to us. And sometimes it's hard to see a mirror, especially if the mirror is completely opposite what we believe in or what we think. But that allows us to look at a part of ourselves, like where do I really, where inside me do I hold that consciousness? Or where inside me did I once feel that way? Or where inside me am I still perceiving something like that? And just use it as a mirror to develop your own self-awareness and self-knowledge and self-wisdom. Because you can't change anybody anyway. People have a point of view and they're going to hold on to their point of view until they don't want to anymore. So you can, you know, it's like God. You can ask God for what you want, but you got to leave the results to Him. Sometimes I feel like it's the same thing with people. You have to just turn them over to God, but you can use them as mirrors for your own development. I'm done, over.
I agree with that. And I would say, Shabana, that you can love him for that. You can love him for being in the mirror. Over.
And thank him for being
Go ahead, Anne.
and thank him for being such a good teacher, because it's usually the things we struggle with the most that are our highest paid employees. Like your boyfriend, your mother, your family, your roommates.
Thanks for making me totally miserable. I was starting to think I was a bystander.
Oh.
I mean, I'd rather be a bystander, but yeah, I mean, I'm just grateful for what you and Angela said. No, I wish I were grateful.
Yeah.
Terry.
It's easier to be a bystander and blame other people, but, you know, ultimately it does not lead to where we're trying to go. I could feel, you know, I would you know, sometimes when people are my excellent teachers, I feel like a little kid kicking and screaming, you know, like a tantrum inside. That's how I feel, you know, and I think that's okay to feel that way and then go, but, you know, this is my lesson right now. And, you know, not that I'm so happy about it, but I will accept them. Mostly, I just love the mirror that you, Shabana, are for me. You're a great mirror for me sometimes.
Can you give me an example?
Oh, just that even, like not wanting to be a bystander, you know, like that it's, I don't know. I'll give you an example the next time it happens. Happens all the time. When you make your little jokes about yourself and how you're feeling about things, 99% of the time, it's a mirror for me.
Yeah, I agree. The temper tantrums, okay, like I'll just give you an example. Now, this is for everyone. I'm sorry, but I need counseling.
We all do.
You made me choke on my coffee.
Pardon?
You made me choke on my coffee.
Well, we could have group counseling right here, so.
No, it's all about me. It's always all about me. So here's the story. In Canada, like I think everywhere else in the world, we have garbage, which is black, compost, which is green, and recycling, which is blue. Is that the same in England?
That's it. Yes.
Yeah.
Similar, yeah.
Our colors are different.
Oh.
But it's the same thing, right? Three
Oh.
different, pardon? Two? Okay, so every single day I inspect the theory. You know, like if I could see someone who wrote the theory, I'd shake the shit out of them. Because every day, and I'm thinking, this is for you, Gaia. Like, what part of green and blue and black does he not understand?
Shabana, your situation is even more like mine.
Well, I used to live in an apartment building with 20 units. So some people understood and a lot of people didn't. And I'll tell you, it drove me crazy when I opened it up to put my stuff in whichever side was appropriate. We had a dumpster with just two sides, no compost. It's like, the pizza box does not go in recycling. You know, this cardboard thing should be in recycling. What is the matter with people? Now I live in a house and it's just me and my friend and we both know how to follow instructions. It's awesome.
I have something to add though.
I'm turning green.
Shavana,
Yes.
perhaps there's something here you need to learn. And what comes up for me is this is a great lesson for letting go.
I'll tell you what I just thought of, and there's something that Deepak Chopra said, and it was, look at everyone as your child.
Yeah.
This
And
one's
give-
retarded.
No, but no, seriously, give them that unconditional love as you would give to a child. If you give, because you always give unconditional love to a child, or most of us do. And if you look at them in that vein, then they'll see things differently.
And that includes ourselves.
Yes.
I find that really helpful.
You know what? The only thing I want to do is go throw up. I'm so mad.
Stack up some pillows on your bed and swing like you're swinging an axe and beat them up. That's a great way to discharge the angry energy because you use your whole body. That's my favorite way when I get crazy with it and need to discharge it.
Well, now, you know, like something just came to me, which is making me even angrier.
Oh, God. Is it my fault?
Of course. Yours and Anne-Laura's and
Angela.
I can't blame Linda, but I'd love to blame Linda. Today I can't do it. Okay.
Angela said the thing about Deepak
Angela, yes,
Chopra, so
Angela,
you gotta
definitely.
blame her
Yeah.
too.
But I'll get Linda another time. So the thing is that there's a man called Matt Kahn, and Linda's always quoting him.
Oh,
And
yeah.
this came to me, it just dropped on me because of your good intentions. I mean, that's why it happened. He said, whatever arises, love that. And that
Yeah.
makes sense, because you know what, beating up the pillows, I might hurt my fists, you know.
I agree with Matt. Those are the best 4 words.
Whatever arises, love that. Yeah, so that is the bottom line, is that I don't love myself, and I'm looking to be a victim and to look upon others as retarded, and that's a judgment.
Exactly. And another thing Matt Kahn says is nothing is wrong.
Except my anger, because it's not making me feel happier.
But that's not wrong. It's what arises, and you have to love that. Do you want to punch me now?
Here's the thing about anger. It's all energy. Anger isn't bad in and of itself. It's what you choose to do with it. It's how you choose to use it. It can be a very motivating force for change. It's just energy. It depends if you're going to turn it on yourself or turn it on someone else, then it's not going to bring a creative outcome. It's going to, you know, it's not going to have go in a good direction. But it's just energy. Use it for motivation. That's a thought. Over.
I want to say, whatever arises, love that, like it's a little child, getting back to that. You know, we have to love everything with that kind of love, and especially ourselves. And I have to tell you, I spent years and years getting past the not loving of myself thing. And maybe that's one of the reasons why you're a mirror to me, because I remember that reality. And this one's better. I remember when I just knew that I was 100% in my corner, on my side, with that love of like a parent for a child, you know, and boy, was that a relief. Over.
That's beautiful.
I didn't catch, Mary, I have a pair of headphones. I could mail them to you that I don't use, you know. I wish I could. I just missed the first little part. But I'll just repeat it back to you. I mean, actually my anger level has now come down from 112 to about 93. So there's a huge improvement. Mary, did you say that the mirror, that I should be grateful that I have this mirror? Is that what you said?
No. What I said was that you are a mirror to me.
Okay.
The difficulty with loving yourself is a mirror for how I used to be, with having to learn that. That was something I had to learn, and spent a lot of years learning how to just be in my corner 100% and love myself with that love of a parent for a child. I remember the first phrase that someone said that helped me with that was, think of yourself like a precious object, you know? Because we all are, and we don't think of ourselves as that. We aren't really taught growing up to think of ourselves as that beautiful, special thing, you know? And we all get hurt and hurt ourselves, and we learn to think of ourselves as damaged and needing fixing and, you know, all that stuff, like even searching for healing and knowledge, and all of that stuff is predicated on the notion that we ourselves are not enough, just as we are. And, you know, that was my, I would say that was my work for the past several years. And that's what I really want to share with the world, is the love for ourselves. Like, if we all love ourselves, knowing that we are enough, and love ourselves like a precious little child, we can't hurt other people the way we're hurting other people, because it starts with us. And then once we love ourselves like that, we can learn to love others and the world, and, you know, our roommates who drive us crazy, and, you know, everything. So sorry, I went on a little bit, but thank you. I'm done. I love you all.
Don't
Okay.
you know, we're
Go ahead.
diamonds in the rough. We just need a lot of polishing.
Okay.
I just need to say here, sorry, I just need to say, but we've all read CWG, and it tells us right from the very start, you're not your body, you're not your mind, you are your soul. We are wonderful human beings. I mean, how can we not know that?
Yeah.
If we have read I've been reading this material since 1999, I think it was. How can I not know how wonderful I am? That's not my ego talking. I am a wonderful specimen, just like all of us here. So don't ever forget it. Please understand the material that we read. Over.
I was just thinking, you know, what the reading was about. There's a lapse in logic, said. Lapse in logic. So maybe when we take our responsibility, you know, like in your case, Shabana, with your partner or whatever, sometimes I think people, men especially, you know, in our time, they might have been like, probably had the competitive way of thinking, we'll do the other side because she's on that side, we do the other side. That's the kind of relationship. But we need to work in cooperation, because this is how we need to work. And in co-creation, cooperation and co-creation, they go together. But so that's a kind of competitive thinking, isn't it? You're wrong and I'm right kind of thing. And what I noticed for myself, which is helpful to me, if somebody lets me carry on, I think I know everything. I have to laugh at myself. I think I'm right, you see. So I think that's also like an arrogance and, you know, just tenacious. But you know, for our action, each of us has this as a kind of gift. We're like part of a jigsaw, and we need to stop being the bystander. Even in our own lives, Shabana, even with your situation, how to work effectively, cooperatively, and in loving kindness, and make a difference. And maybe work towards a solution, which might take some time. So there's a lapse in logic. Going back to this lapse in logic, I thought I would share with you, because I'm a herbalist, I'm a medical herbalist, and all the years they've been telling us we don't have enough scientific proof, we don't have this, we don't have that, and those people who want enough scientific, there's never enough proof for people who want proof. So we have like thousands of years of this system being effective in every country around the world. But that's not enough for the ones who want the paper document that has science written on it. Now, the lapse in logic, I just want to share with you because I think it's important. is that when this vaccine, which is proposed to be this marvelous resolution, is going to come out, it's going to be untested. It's going to be untested and unproved of its efficacy and going to be inflicted on everybody. So after all the years of not allowing herbalists to practice as practitioners in this world where we have got plenty of solutions for what's going on now, no problem. We have plenty of solutions. And this situation doesn't have to be at all the way it is. And we have to realize there's a lapse in logic here. For the same people who are looking for the scientific proof and the paperwork behind everything. Of course, if you have the money, you can pay for the paperwork behind everything, which has always been done. But we need to be aware of this lapse of logic. And we need to take our stand now. All of us have something unique to provide. And it's quite a wonderful, and give thanks. I think the appreciation is giving thanks for having this situation foisted on us now, because I know for myself, I speak for myself, I will postpone my action. I'll postpone my action and my responsibility like I postpone doing the gardening. Do you know what I mean? Which is unfortunate, which is true. The garden is overgrown because I'm not doing it. But I have to take responsibility for that, which I'm doing now. I'm kind of realizing, I'm feeling, oh, I didn't pay attention to that. That was kind of where I left it. I kind of postponed. I didn't take, I didn't act quick enough. But it's good if we notice a lapse in logic and we make our stand, because anyway we have to, because there's no life otherwise. There's no future if we don't anyway. So we have to do everything we can.
I really appreciate, what you said about being a bystander in our own life like that, because I have that tendency too a lot, like what your example of the gardening, just the things that, like, I don't feel like it, so I don't do that. And, if we want to fully live our lives, we have to be responsible for all of it and be willing. It's just being willing to do the work that's there to do at our hands.
Yeah,
I appreciate what you said.
Yes, thank you, Anne. It was a great sharing. I wanted to say something as well. I just want to mention sort of a cautionary tale about using the tool of the mirror. It really depends on where you are in your learning, I believe, as to whether or not that tool is going to be effective as a mirror, because not everything is a mirror. And I think that sometimes it can actually be a detriment to try and use the mirror analogy on situations. I just really want to caution people. It's a great tool, but it is not necessarily a panacea tool, if that makes any sense. Over.
Linda, how do we know if it's a mirror or if it's not? It's a tricky process, because the other part of the saying about the mirror is that you can't see something in yourself that doesn't exist. You can't see something in somebody else that doesn't exist in yourself. And I think that's a cautionary tale, because I do believe that an advanced being, for example, what Neil calls a he, a highly evolved being, I do believe a highly evolved being can witness hate in action, fascism in action, and not have it. It's not a mirror. We can observe it without it being a reflection of what's in us. And that's where, I would say the real key is, are you triggered? And if you're triggered, then chances are it's a mirror. But if you're not triggered, then chances are it isn't a mirror.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Definitely. Yes. Thank you.
That makes perfect sense. Thank you, Linda. And I'm
Yeah,
triggered.
Because I could see you struggling with that, Shabana,
Oh, triggered
when we were having the
big time.
discussion. Yeah.
So it is a mirror. There's
It
nothing
is.
to
And at the same time, for example, it's not that he's throwing stuff in the wrong can. That's the mirror. What's the mirror in that case is, what is it bringing up in you and why does it bother you? That's where the mirror is. It's not that, and that's why I say this, using the mirror as a tool, it can be a good tool, but it can also be very confusing. You don't have somebody helping you, because he's not reflecting that you don't know how to sort your trash, right? That's not what the mirror is. So it's just, you just have to be careful with it. It's all that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, that's very helpful. I'm very, very grateful for all the wisdom that all of you have shared, and now I think I'm down to 39. So it's a good job. Thank you kindly.
Well, I'm sorry I had to get off for a minute, but I'm so happy. The place where Daryl, my friend in the nursing home is, they just called me and did a FaceTime call. It's been 3 months and I've only spoken to him twice. And so that was like so good. And I've had
nice.
to.
Oh, that's lovely, Anne.
Yes, that is nice.
So happy for you.
Yeah, that's
Did
really
you
good
do it
news.
just now when you left?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
That's what I was answering the phone. It was them calling me.
Oh, I'm so happy. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Since it's late in the hour, Shabana, do you want to do your meditation?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, God, that you're showing us through Neale Donald Walsch that this is a conversation with humanity, that we are all writing the book together. No one is a bystander. We're creators like you. And we thank you that the critical mass, which is only 3%, is here now in this meeting, uniting every heart in gratitude for the power we have to change ourselves by loving ourselves and loving Gaia. And these protests against police brutality are one more sign of the scum rising to the surface. This is the time where we have swept injustice under the carpet. We've swept personal and collective responsibility under the carpet. And now the consequences in every department are so big that we are called to unite in loving each other and working together, because we are all one. Help us now to be grateful and kind and hopeful and faithful in lifting humanity and Gaia to the magnificence of perfection. Amen. All done.
Thank you, Shabana. I wanted to just share with you guys, in case you have not followed any of this, there have been 2 states, Supreme Courts, that have released statements in response to what's happening. The state of Washington, their Supreme Court issued a letter on June 4th. I'm not gonna, it's a little too long to read the whole thing, but I just want to read like a sentence or two. Our institutions remain affected by the vestiges of slavery, Jim Crow laws that were never dismantled, and racist court decisions that were never disavowed. The legal community must recognize that we all bear responsibility for this ongoing injustice, and we are capable of taking steps to address it if only we have the courage and the will. They go on to say, as judges, we must recognize the role we have played in devaluing Black lives. This very court once held a cemetery could lawfully deny grieving Black parents the right to bury their infant. We cannot undo this wrong, but we can recognize our ability to do better in the future. We can develop a greater awareness of our own conscious and unconscious biases in order to make just decisions in individual cases, and we can administer justice and support court rules in a way that brings greater racial justice to our system as a whole. And then the day after that, Alaska's Supreme Court issued a letter that we recognize too often that Afro-Americans, Alaska Natives, and other people of color are not treated with the same dignity and respect as white members of our communities. And we recognize that this, as a community, members, lawyers, and especially as judicial officers, we must do more to change this reality. So, and that letter ends with Martin Luther King's quote, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." So, you know, we're seeing those changes. We're seeing them start to happen. And at every rally that I've either attended or watched, at some point, someone has said, we must not let up. We must not stop until this is done. And so I think we've really turned a corner as a planet on racism. I pray anyway. And that's the thing. We cannot stop. Each and every one of us every day has got to take steps to help make this change happen. I love all you ladies here. Thank you for coming.
I love you
Wow,
too.
Linda,
And
that's
thank
beautiful.
you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that with us.
Sharing that. That's really
And
encouraging.
It is encouraging. And as anybody here in the U.S. or I'm going to say North America, these have been some strange times for us. And we've got people around the world standing up for America, which is a really good feeling because we don't get to hear a lot of that. We often hear the opposite, that we're a bunch of ding-dongs. Not said like that, but that's what we hear a lot of. And so it's very good to hear that people are holding us in the light and are, you know, they've got our backs, so to speak. So anyway, I really appreciate everything everybody said. Anybody have anything, last thing they wish to say before we sign off?
How's your roommate, Linda? Nanette, did you get a new one or what?
No, she's still with us. And she's not in good shape.
What?
Yeah.
But she didn't pass last week when they thought she would?
No, but she's very near, very near.
Oh, Lord.
So,
oh, honey, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's just what it is. And it's all, she gets to walk on clear waters here pretty soon. So anyway, thank you. And I love you all.
Love you too.
Okay, we will see you.
I'll tell you what, can I just say today's quote from book 1? It's for the quote for June 7. It says, "The world is in the condition it's in because the world is full of sleepwalkers." That's page 191 of book 1.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Truth.
Except us, Angela, we're not sleepwalking. I was sleepwalking, but you woke me up.
Cool.
Too funny.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Love you all.
Love you too.
Love you.
See you
Bye-bye.
next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, Mary.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So
Thank
much.
you. Glad to see you back.
So happy to see you back.
Thank you very much.